the second hand ticks slowly. Finally, it was time for him to be served. When he was asked how he could be helped, smiling, the man reached to the back of his khakis as if to fish out a wallet. Instead, he presented the teller with a 3x5-inch index card. The teller's smile wilted. She stared at the words handwritten in black marker. "This is a robbery. Put all of your money in the bag."
Breaking news.
"Je suis American." The drill sergeant was apoplectic. The Dutchman had been yelling ever since Tom arrived at the French Foreign Legion's candidate selection center in the south of France. It was the fall of 1997. Dropping to the pavement, Tom pumped out push-ups. Suddenly, the sergeant's heavy boots walloped him in the stomach. The recruits around him laughed. One of the few military outfits that accepts non-citizens, the Foreign Legion tends to attract a menagerie of misfits. Men who can't even speak French arrive willing to endure hot-tempered drill instructors and 5 years of service in exchange for a French passport. At 27, Tom was on the older side of the Legion, but he was still fit. He could bang out chin-ups, no problem, but he couldn't stand his superiors. One time, the stocky Dutchman forced Tom to spend 3 hours on the hands and knees in shorts, picking up cigarette butts as the jagged asphalt burrowed into his kneecaps. The Legion tries to break recruits. The recruits, in turn, try to break each other. Tom was a frequent target of a wiry 19-year-old Moroccan. "Hey, big shot, why don't you become American Navy SEAL?" the guy shouted one time. "Maybe you cannot make it?" Tom retaliated by grabbing the Moroccan's throat until they were separated. Both men were dismissed from the Legion.
Dismissed!
Tom's commanding officer encouraged him to enlist again in a year, but Tom will never return to France. Since high school, his commitment to cycling and everything else had lapsed. During the 6 years that he attended Southern Illinois, Tom embraced the slackerdom that had become to define Generation X. He switched majors, ping-ponging between philosophy and sociology and theater. He rushed a fraternity but never joined. When the film Reality Bites was released, Tom went to see it 6 times. Like Ethan Hawke's chain-smoking nihilist, Tom believed it was cool to not care. He still talked about the Olympics, but he coasted on his innate talent. At college, he founded a cycling club where he was surrounded with amateurs he could always best.
It's time to party! Hooray!
Instead of training hard, Tom broke into empty truck houses to smoke cigarettes and chug beers with his buddies. But deep inside, Tom still harbored wildly grandiose expectations. In college, he thought maybe he could become an artist. He dabbled in piano and sculpture, but nothing ever clicked for him the way cycling had. So after finally graduating in 1994, Tom moved to Los Angeles to train alongside the US Olympic team. Racing around the famed 5,000-seat velodrome at California State University, he did little to distinguish himself. "Where's his head?" cyclist Bill Clade said to Tom's girlfriend, Laura, as they watched Tom loop around the track one day. A young sprinter who would compete in the 1996 Olympics, Bill could tell Tom lacked discipline. He said that Tom was fast, but he didn't train right. He needed to apply himself. Tom soon washed out and returned to Chicago, where he and his girlfriend Laura shared an apartment in Ravenswood. He found a job as a social worker, overseeing homeless schizophrenics. Helping people was a welcome distraction from his own issues. But after a while, it felt like a pointless slog, one with no finish line and no congratulations. As Tom's Olympic dream slipped away, he started fantasizing about identities he could substitute for the thrilling instant gratification of cycling. He made a list, hidden by his bed. Helicopter pilot, lockpicker, priest, EMT. He started with the third, applying to a Catholic seminary. Tom wasn't even religious, but this seemed like a fresh start. He could be handed a rigid set of guidelines for a new life. Sitting down with an admissions officer at the University of St. Mary of the Lake in Mundelein, Tom admitted he couldn't remember the last time he'd been to confession. The man leveled with him and told him that he really needed to do some soul searching. Next, Tom talked his way into an informational interview at the Drug Enforcement Administration's office in the Loop. He explained how he'd never worked in law enforcement, but had plenty of experience frisking teenagers from a previous job at a high school for trans. The agent wasn't convinced. He told Tom that he didn't seem like the type of guy that was going to kick down those fighting the war on drugs. After watching Repo Man, Tom called auto recovery companies for career advice. He toyed with becoming an underwater welder. He struck out with the French Foreign Legion. He wandered from interview to interview, growing increasingly unhappy with his life that to him seemed mundane. His relationship with Laura became strained. Whenever she mentioned marriage or kids, he grew uneasy. He couldn't see himself settling down. Not yet, and maybe never. Late one night in 1998, Tom revisited his handwritten lists. Over the years, he kept adding ideas and potential identities to it. Under helicopter pilot and lockpicker, he'd scrawled 2 letters. BR, bank robber.